Good morning, Vikings. Some Army stories. As per the usual, with a lesson for you. This curtain right here is the lining of my great lodge. It's not. We hang it up to keep the sun out of that sliding glass door. All right. I was talking with a brother yesterday, and he said, "You said you had some more land navigation stories, and I really liked the last one. I'd like to hear another one." And I said, "Okay." And he got all ready to hear it. I said, "I'll put it in the video." I didn't want to steal the thunder, right? How do I want to start? With more coffee. We're going to talk about rucksacks, packing lists. So that applies to you for your bug out bag. Sort of. I started out in the military, in the infantry. And back then, and I'm sure to a degree still now, the infantry were ground pounders. We walked to battle. And my unit was what was called leg infantry at the time, because back in the 80s there were a couple different kinds of infantry. There's the airborne infantry, 82nd. There was air assault, 101st. And there was like the 9th Infantry Division, which had like these cool dune buggies. And then there was so those were a couple different units, but the bulk of the infantry was either mechanized. They rode around in armored vehicles like APCs, 113s, armored personnel carriers. Little box-looking thing from Vietnam era with tracks on it. And or they walked. You know, they'd ride part of the way in trucks, get out and walk over the mountain kind of thing. That's what I was in. And then pretty soon after I got there, my unit changed from being leg infantry, that's what they called it, to light infantry, which means they took away most of our vehicles, and we were supposed to be high-speed, low-drag. To a degree we were, and we walked everywhere. Everywhere. We would shoot at the range, which was about 4 miles away. Walk to the range, shoot, walk back. Oh, we walked everywhere on purpose to get used to it. And in the infantry, it's very regimented. Everyone is told exactly what to do, how to do it, what to wear, how to wear it. Everyone's LCE, the combat suspenders with the pistol belt and the canteens and the ammo pouch and all that, it all had to be exactly the same on everybody. Everything was the same. Uniforms were the same, yada, yada, yada. And the packing list for our rucksacks that we took to the field, I didn't go to combat with the infantry. We just practice combat. But we went to the field a lot. To the field, like to do a military exercise anywhere from a weekend to a month long. And so they would give us a packing list that would come from on high. Here is what every soldier will have in his rucksack. Here's what every soldier will have in his duffel bag, which was usually changes of clothes and stuff like that in the duffel bag. And then this was an inspectable item. And I mean, down to you will have 2 pairs of green underwear. And everyone had to have it, whether they wore underwear or not, you know, kind of like that. And one thing that just used to irritate me greatly was in the infantry, we always had in our packing list a spare uniform, another set of BDUs, and a spare pair of boots, which are heavy and take up a lot of room. And believe it or not, the rucksacks are huge, but they fill up quickly. Space is at a premium in those. And so we had to carry this stuff. And I thought it was dumb, but had to do it, so I made my guys do it. Because when we went to the field, it's not like you changed your uniform. We saved the clean uniform for like when the general was coming out to the field, and they'd tell everybody to change into their clean uniform, like we're Boy Scouts or something. And which, that's an interesting thing. I ordered a book on scouting. When is that coming? Anyway, I'm digressing. Oh, look at the squirrel. um, and so we carried this heavy, bulky, and man, when this started, the BDUs weren't even the lightweight BDUs. They were like thick like a pair of Levi's, top and bottom. And so we would carry this. And we'd carry spare boots. And again, we would put the nice, shiny boots on when, you know, somebody was coming. That's why we did it. And to me, I just thought it was dumb. But we had to do it. It's the infantry. Do what you're told. What do soldiers do? Soldiers obey. So then I go to Special Forces. Big boy rules. Here's the mission. Here's your piece of mission critical gear. Pack this. Other than that, take what you want. You're a big boy. Figure it out. No, we never took extra uniforms. Are you kidding me? If we went to the field for 2 weeks, we'd come back filthy, sometimes in rags. We're not taking an extra uniform. Get out of here. My rucksack already weighs 78 pounds. I'm not putting a 4-pound uniform in it, you know, something like that. Except, here's the land navigation story. I told you about the land navigation exercise we went on in the Special Forces qualification course where we moved to the field just for the purpose of making the exercise easier. So by that I mean this. We were doing every day for a week a day land navigation exercise, map and compass, and a night land navigation exercise. And instead of trucking the students back and forth every day for a week, which, you know, resources, time, that kind of thing, they just moved us to the field. And so we weren't tactical. We weren't pretending there was enemy everywhere, so you have to pull guard duty and run patrols and set up perimeter defense. And no, we're just in the field because here's the land navigation course. And so when you're done with it, come back to your little hooch. That's the little whatever kind of setup you made for a shelter with your ponchos, and chill out until it's time to go do the next thing. Big boy rules. Very nice, very pleasant, I thought. It's like camping. And but there was, and in the Q course, I think almost every time, in the qualification course that we were in, there were packing lists. All the students will carry this, because you're not a Green Beret yet, so you don't get to make up your own mind on things. Once you get into Special Forces, there really wasn't much of a packing list, other than you have to take these critical items. But beyond that, you want to take more, you want to take less, who cares? No one cares how many socks you bring when you're a Special Forces guy. You can figure it out. So on this particular land navigation exercise, they gave us a packing list because you do it with a rucksack. And so they wanted all the rucksacks to weigh the same amount, so everybody had to carry the same amount of gear. And so every day we'd come in and we'd, do land navigation, and then we'd go do night land navigation. Then we'd come back about, 2 or 3 in the morning, unpack your rucksack, set up your hooch. And for me, I just strung a hammock between 2 trees and put a poncho over top of it. Go to sleep, get up late, well past dawn, make yourself some breakfast with an MRE. About 10-ish, everybody loads up and we go do dayland navigation all day. You take your hooch down and pack it again. So you set it up, took it down every day because you had to have all your stuff in your rucksack. One of the things we had to have in our rucksack was a spare uniform. And we had been on many exercises in Special Forces before this, and we had in the Q course, and we had never had to carry a spare uniform. And I remember thinking, all right, they're just doing that for weight. And hey, I get it. If 2 days into this thing, Sergeant Schmedlap blows the pants, the crotch out of his pants, we're not going back to the rear to get him another pair of pants. So he's got to have another pair because we got to be out here for a week. I get it. So it was chilly. Some mornings it was cold when we woke up, and it was wet. There was a lot of rain that week. And so first day, you go out and you do a land navigation, and you're out all day. You come back for a little break. You go out all night, and when you come back, you are soaking wet, top to bottom, as if you had jumped into a pool with your uniform on and climbed out. You're that wet. And now it's time to go to sleep. We got like 10 or 12 hours before we got to do anything else. And we didn't have sleeping bags. We just had our little poncho liner. So you really don't want to sleep wet. And so what do? I take off my uniform. It wasn't raining that night, but my uniform was still wet. I hung it on like some branches, and I put on my dry uniform. Oh, it's like pajamas. And I think they were jungle fatigues. Anyway, put on my dry, which are nice and soft when they get broken in. I put on my dry uniform, and I got in my hammock and went to sleep. I had a decision to make in the morning when I got up. I wake up, I need some coffee. I'm in a dry uniform, and my uniform that I hung up overnight is cold and wet. Who wants to put that on? As it turns out, not most of the people out there camping, right? Everybody stayed in their dry uniform. Well, I stayed in my dry uniform until it was about time to get ready to go get on the trucks. And then I'm like, you know what? I took off my dry uniform, rolled it up, put it in my waterproof bag in my rucksack, and put on my cold uniform. Ooh, I can still feel it. Oh, God. It was terrible. We get out there, we do land navigation. You know what happens when you hit those wet woods? About 10 minutes later, you're soaking wet. Right? Everybody's soaking wet, even the people that came out in dry uniforms. So we run the course, we run at day, come back, run at night, come back. Guess what I had to sleep in? A dry uniform. I put on my uniform and I went to sleep. In the morning, I got up, I took that uniform off, and I put the cold, wet uniform back on. Whew, and just sucked it up and went out there and did it. But every night, I had a dry uniform to sleep in. And after the second day, I don't know how many people were in my class. And actually, I think we did this during the officer portion, so there were like probably 30 people. I bet you not 4 of them had dry uniforms. You ever watch Ray Mears? I had a friend who like videotaped all his TV shows and then let me watch them. He's a British, maybe one of the original modern era bushcrafters. Ray Mears. You can probably find some of his stuff on YouTube. The shtick of the TV show, he's a Brit. The shtick of the TV show is kind of like a world travelogue. Like he travels to far off and interesting places and meets interesting people and camps in the bush. And Ray Mears is kind of like a roly-poly kind of guy who likes his beer. But that's a horsefly. I don't want to get bit. But he, that man can make himself comfortable in the woods. He's good. He's very competent. And when I say woods, I'm talking woods, jungle, forest, swamp, whatever. He's good. And he has a saying that goes something like 10% effort results in 90% comfort. Just go a little bit further and you'll be a lot more comfortable. Suck it up and put that cold uniform on. Yeah, you're going to be cold for an hour while you're riding out there actually, no, we didn't ride out in the trucks. We started right from where we were. So yeah, you're going to be cold for about 20 minutes until you start walking through the woods with a rucksack on, at which point you're sweating. So you were uncomfortable for this amount of time, but you slept warm and dry all night. And it's amazing the number of people who can't take a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of effort, 10% effort to have 90% comfort. They want it now. I want to be warm and dry now. I don't want to put on my cold uniform now. Things to think about. So yeah, Ray Mears' phrase, not mine. 10% effort results in 90% comfort. Think about that. Push yourself a little bit. Go the extra mile to take care of yourself. I think that can apply in many other areas. Do I carry an extra uniform in my bug out bag now? I do not. I carry an extra t-shirt that I plan on, and when I've gone on exercises, which I haven't for a couple of years, I take off my sweaty t-shirt at the end of the day, hang it up, I put my dry t-shirt on to sleep, and then I switch it back again. But no, I'm not carrying an extra uniform. I ain't got time for that. It's really interesting, and then I'll let y'all go because this is getting long. If you look at the hiker trash Appalachian Trail through hikers, what they wear, because you know weight's an issue, right? And man, these guys are hiking the Appalachian Trail with like 25-pound rucksacks, pretty light. Now, granted, they're not taking guns and radios and a whole lot of first aid stuff and and they're getting a resupply about every 4-ish days of food and stuff, but they're walking the Appalachian Trail, you know, from Maine to Georgia or Georgia to Maine. There's a lot to be learned there, and they wear some funky clothes. You know, like their long underwear. They have long underwear, and then they have like a pair of shorts. And they'll wear the shorts over the long underwear and hike. It looks goofy, but it works and it saves weight. Why take pants? I'm either going to wear shorts. If I'm cold, I'll put my long underwear on. I don't know. It's a concept. All right, things to think about. What are your comments? What do y'all think? I appreciate y'all. I really do. All right, I'll see you out there.